Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining this webcast on SAP Commissions for banking and financial services and insurance markets. So this is Manoj Harbachanka, and I'll be your mediator for today. So let me just start with giving you a brief on what the agenda is going to be. So to begin with, we will have a short introduction of our experts on the panel today, followed by industry trends presented by Jane Disney. And then Lisa James will take us through the SAP solution for sales performance management, covering both Commission and Producer Pro. At the end, we will have ample time to run through some questions and answers. You are very welcome to submit your queries or questions that you might have via the Q&A tool that you will see at the bottom of your screen. And for your information, we will be recording this session, and we will intend to share this with you after the webinar is completed. Okay, so let's start with the introduction of the panelists. We'll start with introducing myself. So I'm Manoj Harbachanka. I'm the CEO of Acuity Labs. We are a partner of SAP. I personally have an experience of over 22 years of process and strategy consulting, and have delivered several large digital transformation and transformation programs with SAP solutions being the back end of that. Acuity Lab specializes on SAP Sales Cloud solutions and consulting on sales process automation and sales performance improvement. And we are hosting this webinar today along with SAP, and I will be your moderator. So without further ado, let's start with the introduction of the panelists as well. So Jane, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Hello, everybody. Good.
Yes, thank you, Manoj. Hi there, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. My name's Jane Disney. I am the Industry Principal and Value Advisor for Financial Services in SAP. I've worked in SAP now for 8 years and in the financial services market for probably more years than I care to admit. So working in and around financial institutions and with financial institutions for pretty much most of my career. Thank you.
Great, Jane, thank you very much. Lisa, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa James, and I'm Product Marketing Manager for SAP Sales Cloud, specifically focused on the insurance industry. And I have a background in both marketing and consulting for sales and service across different industries, including insurance and manufacturing as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Lisa. Let's so pass you over to Jane Disney now, who will be helping us understand the industry trends in these markets.
Thanks, Manoj. Thanks, Lisa. So just quickly, I was going to go through, before we launch into the presentation with Lisa explaining how we can address the area of broker, intermediary management and commissions. I wanted to just go through some of the challenges and the reasons why our solution will help in the market. So I think you'll all understand and agree that financial services is probably facing more disruption than any other industry today. We had some input from a survey, from PwC, in fact, where they asked the CEOs, a large number of CEOs, around about 1,500, to tell them where they foresaw the major changes that were going to affect their business. And from that came back the answer that regulatory burden is the #1 risk and challenge for financial services organisations. And I think for those of you out there, you'll recognise that. So there is the ongoing raft of regulations across the industry, whether that's around risk management, whether it's around accounting, whether it's around customer engagement, treating customers fairly, whether it's around how you disclose your information and your relationships with intermediaries, how the intermediaries themselves disclose that information. So regulatory burden is definitely a big issue for the market. Then we go on and look at distribution channels and the drive perhaps more towards B2C or direct-to-customer type channels, but bearing in mind that the FS industry has operated with intermediaries for some time and will do for some time to come, but there is that challenge around with new technology around distribution channels, customer behaviours. I'll go into these a little bit more in a minute, and obviously competition. So those were the key areas that the CEOs foresaw in the survey. If we go back to regulation for a moment, in that survey, only 2% of those FS organisations rated their technology as being excellent for their compliance needs across the board. And that's on the side of the banks and the insurers. But if we also look at intermediaries and the broker side of the business, then it's a case that brokers operate in one of the most burdensome and expensive regulatory systems in the world. I think about the third largest burden for brokers. And it's estimated that the cost of that regulation for the smaller brokers in themselves has increased by 70% in a 3-year period. And yet the government is concerned about the productivity of UK firms, and I think the response to that is that the industry needs to work with the intermediaries to try and ease the burden and increase efficiency. But it is quite a challenge across the market, really given, as I say, the dependence and the interrelationships with the intermediaries across banking and insurance. And when we look at the financial services regulators, we can see they're broadening their focus from solvency to include a lot more focus on market conduct oversight. And we've seen that with some of the recent regulations that have come into force. So if we look at those trends and changes in looking particularly around intermediary management or sales team management and remuneration, then we can see these 4 trends. Regulation I've mentioned, certainly in the UK there is, and across the globe, there is a huge amount of FS industry oversight. In the UK specifically, and I would imagine in the other regions as well, that the regulators are there to protect the UK economy, to protect the investment in the industry, and to protect the GDP which is generated by both banks and insurers. In the UK, then the brokers are specifically governed by the Financial Conduct Authority, and the PRA is more largely interested in the stability and the reporting and disclosure of the institutions. Then the Insurance Act that came out in 2015 is also a very strong act that has been primarily had the customer at heart. So we're seeing a great deal more regulation, and GDPR being one of the more recent ones. And governance, I know it's true across the globe in terms of customer focus on that regulation. So it's quite a burden, because the cost of that regulation to both the intermediaries and the insurers does actually limit the amount of change and innovation. The ability to compete in the market does get limited, because so much of the budget and the focus has to go on that regulation. If we look at the customer perspective, then paramount for the customer is really being able to trust and have assurance from financial institutions and any brokers or intermediaries or salespeople that they talk to. They need to be confident that they're getting the best advice. And of course, recent mis-selling challenges that we've had in the UK have not really helped in terms of gaining the customer trust. So it is really important for the customers to feel that they are getting the best advice at the best price, and that there is complete transparency about the intermediary they speak to, the financial institution they speak to, the product offering, the advice, etc. But if we look as well, customers today have a far greater choice and more empowerment. It's a hugely competitive market. They don't necessarily have the loyalty. The loyalty may differ between the younger and older generation. But they will have more choice in terms of where they go. So it's a competing market for both the intermediaries and the financial institutions. They have a lot more accessibility to financial services information, and perhaps understand that information better than ever, so they can make their own decisions and therefore need less access to advice and perhaps only go for advice when they need face-to-face assurance from the advisory firm. And of course, data protection, as I've mentioned, the GDPR Act, the data protection is a very important thing for customers to ensure that their data is being used in an appropriate fashion and they're not being penalised by providing personal data in terms of pricing and advice. We move around then to the financial institutions themselves, and you'll recognise this. You want to drive innovation, you want to drive growth in your business, you want to be able to differentiate, you want to be able to address the competitive threats. But on the other hand, you do have the regulatory burden, you have the price and margin pressures, which sometimes make it hard to release the funds for investment in this innovation and growth area. It's important that you have both internally and to drive the relationship with your intermediaries and your sales team, full transparency around your payment and your commissions. You have full transparency around the advisory intermediaries, that they actually are certified, they have the right qualifications, and they will actually provide the right assurance to your customers so that you can drive the right level of customer satisfaction. And in the case of disputes, that you're able to drive those disputes. We find with many customers that we speak to that the transparency of information is such that the disputes sometimes just go uncontested because there isn't the information to be able to manage the dispute and to counteract the claim of the payments that are due to the intermediaries. And of course, the regulatory requirement is for far more reporting and disclosure of information. And if we look at the intermediaries, the agents, brokers, the sales teams, you know, they are incentivized and paid. You know, they're incentivized by what they're paid. They will have multiple relationships with financial institutions. They'll be motivated by a higher pricing because that higher pricing will mean that they have higher commissions. And in a market where price and pressure, the price and margin pressures are very strong, then that can sometimes be a bit of a conflict between the intermediary and the financial institution. They themselves, as we've mentioned, are under far greater scrutiny. There are a lot of digital technology threats. Why do we need intermediaries if the customers can go direct to the institutions, if they've got information at their fingertips, they understand better? So there is quite a lot of challenges with the intermediaries, the brokers, the agents that you deal with as well. And from an internal sales team perspective, then there is quite a lot of change in the focus on sales incentives, moving away from sheer percentage of sale into something which is perhaps more team balanced, is perhaps a little bit more balanced scorecard related as well. So that's changing both the internal and the external landscape when it comes to commissions, commission payments, and how those relationships should work. So addressing those requirements then, perhaps what does good look like? Well, certainly to be able to manage customers across any channel at any time as they choose, and also to engage all of your agents and brokers on the same portal or effectively through the same platform so that each of them can share information. All parties involved, the customer, the intermediary, the financial institution, can have access to the same information. There's a degree of perhaps self-service or more digital capability and more automated advisory from the availability of more data as well. And that's basically the ability to have an end-to-end capability to engage your customers and to engage your intermediaries, and to be able to draw back on the experience to get insight to action, change the experience where there's bad feedback, and constantly worry about that customer satisfaction, giving just the best advice and the best product offerings to the customers. If we look down at the institution level through the products and the channels, then whether that's mortgage and loans, financial advice, life, general health insurance, then there is a need to have a robust financial agent master view plus the compliance view to be able to do the onboarding, to be able to look at the book of business, credentials, licensing, that they're okay to sell, etc., so that you are ensuring that your agents and brokers and other intermediaries, your sales team as well, from the point of view of some of the regulatory requirements on your sales team certification, that you are running a group of people that are interfacing the customer for you, that group of people are suitably educated and certified and apply to all of their own compliance expectations. And then from a remuneration, there is a need to be able to be much more flexible in those remunerations, to be able to look at different ways of being able to offer remuneration to external and internal teams, and to be able to manage those, to be able to put different options available for a short period of time at short notice, to be able to drive the positioning and sales of specific products and services, and then to be able to have the visibility and the disputes management and a full platform really to be able to manage that remuneration payment effectively. And we know that from many of the customers that we speak to, that some of that processing is in fact done through spreadsheets and through sporadic and disparate technologies, which make it very hard for both the sales team members or the intermediaries to be able to have a very clear picture of what their payment expectations are within any month or within any quarter. And as a result of that, the industry could be overpaying without even being able to contest or to understand that they are overpaying or paying double amount. So it's really important that the platform would be able to support a very robust remuneration capability. And so that leads us to where we're focusing today. It's very much around the SAP Producer Pro capability, which Lisa will take you through, and the commissions capability, which would then give you a robust platform for both managing your intermediaries and also paying and disclosing the information as required as a business. So thanks for your attention. I'll hand you over to Lisa now to take you through those two areas. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Manoj and Jane. Hi, everyone. So in the next 15 minutes or so, we're going to focus on SAP's sales performance management offerings, SAP Producer Pro, and SAP Commissions, which are supporting sales managers, sales operations, and administrators to manage their workforce and intermediaries. So there's a fundamental truth in sales performance management, specifically for insurance. The relationship between agents and carriers are broken. The main distribution channel for most carriers are independent agents. And independent agents can provide a complexity for carriers since they're typically only commission-based and are pushing multiple carriers, multiple types of insurance, multiple complex relationships, and they're going to favor whatever is easiest to sell and whoever makes their lives easier. And carriers are really struggling managing agents throughout their entire life cycle with a company, from getting agents onboarded and selling quickly, managing the multiple hierarchies that agents have, the multiple compliance needs, communicating effectively, and keeping all the data consistent. Because agent data can come from so many different systems, and all systems tracking different things. It's difficult for carriers to manage their agents and increase revenue. But we believe there's a better way. SAP Producer Pro serves as a central hub of data, which collects all agent-related information from numerous systems that carriers use to manage agent data, be it internal or external, such as your education systems, compensation management systems, policy administration systems, compliance systems. Data can flow bi-directionally between all these systems to ensure carriers and intermediaries have the most up-to-date information on their workforce at all times. And today, average insurers use 20 to 30 systems to manage agents. What Producer Pro does is create a central ecosystem for all the data around an agent. It streamlines all those siloed systems and sits as a single source of truth for a 360-degree view of agents. It pulls in compliance information to ensure your agents are always good and ready to sell. It brings in education material and compensation tools, and also gives visibility to dashboards so you can easily see who your top performers are or who may need additional training or possibly removal from your team. And Producer Pro serves as a single source of truth. It gives all agent-related information, right from demographics to compliance, in a single master record. So administrators can go in and have all the necessary information related to an agent at their fingertips. Demographics, licenses, appointments, all continuing education needs or certifications, background check information, ongoing contracts and ownership, and all the different hierarchies and relationships associated with an agent. And Producer Pro gives complete audit trail visibility with audit screens for each page, which record who made what change and when. And any historical information is date stamped to keep a continuing, consistent record of the agent. So it also keeps control of any changes that could affect the agent's ability to sell. And the solution can also be integrated to background check service sites, so it supports faster onboarding processes. There's also the capability to automatically initiate renewals for licenses and education certifications. And carriers can send notifications for expiring licenses and renew appointments. They can initiate education certification checks and send reminders to agents on new courses that are available or mandatory courses that need to be completed. And the solution gives complete visibility into status of licenses, appointments, education certifications, and details that are relevant for a company around these components, such as effective date, associated agencies, training status, credit hours, and expiration dates. And with Producer Pro, companies can easily manage each agent's book of business with full visibility into historical detail and ability to make mass changes. And the book of business or ownership breaks down the relationship between the clients and the agents that are working with them. And many times with cases, there are multiple touch points, and historically, this has been pretty hard to record all the different parties that are involved or have been involved in a case or with the client. But Producer Pro gives that central hub of information, that one-stop shop access to view and manage those relationships. For each agent, a carrier can easily tell what is their book of business, who are the clients, what is their contract, what is the effective date and expiration date, and everybody who is involved or has been involved in the past with this client. Along these same lines, Producer Pro can deal with any kind of hierarchy with a single master record for each agent, capturing multiple roles and relationships. So independent agents tend to work for an upline or an agency. Typically, that's the most common use case, which could be connected to a general agent, who is connected to a writing agent, who is connected to a sales manager. The roles and relationships for agents can get very complex very quick. So Producer Pro takes all the information related to the agent and creates a single master record or master ID. So any other ID or record that is coming in from an agency or client or from different licenses or another system that is associated to this agent, Producer Pro will map and connect it to this master ID and create a hierarchy or multiple hierarchies of the different roles and relationships that an agent has. And the carrier is able to drill down to the detail they need, all under this single master record for the agent. And overall, we talk about this experience economy. We focus a lot on the customer experience, but with insurance, since independent agents are the #1 distribution channel for carriers, and carriers are typically dealing with thousands of agents, it can be very difficult to track the customer experience. If you are dealing with agents that are disgruntled. A key concern for carriers and brokers is that they are disconnected with their agents, but that relationship needs to be easy and frictionless. And with SAP Producer Pro, that is the value add we're giving carriers. We're allowing them to command the attention of their distribution channel by being the most service-oriented and easy to work with carrier in the market, from onboarding to offboarding or termination. So with SAP Producer Pro, we are managing all the different roles and relationships and needs of the agents, but integrated with SAP Commissions is how we answer that question: how is everyone getting paid? Within an agency, missed market opportunities, overpayments are common. Sales planning effectively and on time can become difficult, and compressed timelines in sales planning yields negative results. So there needs to be a really seamless, connected, automated process in place for incentive compensation management. There needs to be a way to keep agents motivated, make compensation clear, and ensure payouts are accurate and timely, which is why we integrate SAP Producer Pro with our SAP Commission solutions to really manage the end-to-end life cycle for agents and to optimize sales teams. And SAP Commissions really focuses on sales performance management as a whole and not solely on the payouts. The central purpose is to create a good framework for agents, to keep them motivated to sell and to promote those correct selling behaviors. And the system allows you to add gamification elements, promoting friendly competition with other agents. It gives agents visibility to customized dashboards and leaderboards that not only motivate them to attainment and goals, but allows them to see how much commissions they're going to make through a contract. So you can start to promote the correct selling behaviors and maximize incentive compensation plans with real-time calculations. And since administrators have the visibility into the agents, they can see what's working and why or how it's working, and then they can use bonuses, accelerators, and drive the right behaviors to increase business. For sales operations, it's all about improving efficiency and accelerating the planning cycle. And our SPM approach with SAP Commissions utilizes AI directly in the tool, so it's able to drive and give prescriptive recommendations to the compensation administrators and sales operations on how to run more efficiently. And SAP Commissions allows agencies to prioritize business attributes that they value when mapping territories. So a common scenario is you have an agent that has been building relationships with an account for 3 years. When you remap territories, you don't want to move that agent and disrupt those relationships. That agent is a goldmine of information and connections, and moving them could actually hinder that business. And historically, business attributes such as that were difficult to bake into planning. But SAP Commissions enables the administrators to configure optimized territories based on business output automatically. So it accelerates the planning cycle while improving the efficiency of operations. Also, within Commissions connected to Producer Pro, the solution allow carriers and agents to understand compensation plans and to have full visibility on how compensation was calculated and when. So carriers can view plan elements and update them. And this reduces compensation disputes because you have a single source that can track and trail how compensation was computed, and you can trace it to understand the calculations. You can proactively address any disputes before it erodes agent motivation because they think they're not being paid appropriately. And for carriers, it reduces the chance for overpayments. So all of these things reduce risk and reduce revenue loss in the sales process. And with SAP Commissions, companies can also analyze plan effectiveness to see what elements of the plan are driving right behaviors, what elements might need incentives added to it, what elements are leading to overspending, as well as how many agents are taking advantage of certain pieces of your compensation plan. And with the power of AI, you can get recommendations on how to improve your plans. If an agent's compensation plan is too complex and they're not understanding the benefit on why they're doing something, there's a good chance they're not going to do it at all. So the system gives the opportunity to make the appropriate adjustments, and any changes in the compensation plan can be clearly communicated to the agents, and within their dashboard, they can easily raise any questions or concerns they might have around it. So at SAP, we work with some of the biggest names in the life and property and casualty space. We cater to carriers as big as AIG, as well as to smaller ones. And we also have a large base of health customers as well, including the biggest names in the space. So I wanted to tell you a little bit more about a few customers. So AIG is a leading American multinational insurance corporation, and AIG became the first lighthouse customer for SAP Producer Pro prior to being an SAP Commissions customer. And for them, the process to verify if an agent possessed the correct credentials to sell a specific product in a certain jurisdiction at a given date was effort intensive, it was error prone, and costly. So we collaborated with AIG to automate the manual process of onboarding and appointing an agent. And with SAP Producer Pro and Commissions, AIG is now able to automate the agent onboarding appointment process and create a central repository of all the information surrounding an agent, as in addition to an incentive compensation plan that makes sense for them. And ultimately, now AIG is able to avoid costly fines by ensuring regulatory accuracy. They're able to support the agent selling products faster. They can issue policies faster, which allow the customer to get their products sooner than before, and incentivize agents for the sales sooner than before with the commission system integration. And a few other of our customers that have had quantifiable benefits. We have Florida Blue and Medica and Allstate all have the SAP Commission solution. And Florida Blue was able to add an additional $60 million to their top line through sales productivity. Medica had a 47% reduction in commissions-related calls to the call center and a 21% reduction in the adjustment error rate for compensation. And Allstate was able to reduce headcount by 18 full-time employees because of how quickly and efficiently they were able to roll out new products. And something also to mention is that we are a 6-time leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for Sales Performance Management, showcasing our innovation and ability to execute since 2013. And areas that were highlighted by Gartner, we include all of the core functionality for sales performance management, including incentive compensation management, territory management, and quota management, as well as what's considered non-core functionality, such as gamification and advanced analytics. And Gartner also recognized our steady increase in net new customers year over year in comparison to our competitors. So when we think about Producer Pro and Commissions, companies can get the scale and reliability they need and increase visibility and communication, really promoting those right selling behaviors and managing those relationships effectively to keep your agents motivated, compliant, and continually learning, but also getting paid appropriately and timely. And we really are the only purpose-built agent lifecycle management solution. We're the most complete suite for customer experience and recognized by industry analysts as a leader. And we help companies manage and maintain the agent relationship and experience end-to-end by automating manual processes, turning data into insights, and proactively driving better outcomes for the business. Thank you.
Very much, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. And thank you, Jane, for all your insight. Now, I have definitely learned a lot from this session today, and I'm sure all the attendees have found this very useful as well. So what I'll do now is open the floor for any questions, any queries that the attendees might have. I have a question here which I can get started with from the Q&A. So question probably for you, Lisa, is how functionally integrated is Producer Pro and Commissions as solutions if somebody intends to implement one after the other?
Yeah, so the way that we're promoting the solution, it is we're selling them as a pair. So the functionality is very integrated. And again, the use case with Producer Pro, it does focus very much on insurance. And obviously to get that end-to-end story for insurance, it needs to integrate smoothly into compensation. So it is very functionally integrated. Okay,
excellent. Thank you for that. This is potentially for you, Jane. So question here is, what are the key blockers or challenges that you see for these specific markets in embracing these proposed digital transformation solutions for performance improvement?
Thanks, Manoj. I think, as I said earlier, there are a number of challenges for financial institutions and brokers, and the cost of regulation is obviously one of those, and it does affect the amount of funds available for innovation and change, and quite often those funds go towards the customer-facing activities, go towards trying to update legacy technology, move to the cloud. And there's so many imperatives for organisations, but if we look at a total spend management perspective for both banks and insurers, commissions is really quite a high spend across the industry. So it does merit more focus. Unfortunately, there are competing budgets, but I think some of it really is about being able to articulate the business case. And we saw in the examples that Lisa showed us the very strong benefits that can be gained from using software like Producer Pro and like Commissions. And the business benefit really should stand up for itself and show that there is a lower cost to the organisation, that money can be saved, but also there will be other business benefits as well and better customer satisfaction.
I assume that it is a case of building those business cases for these industries, which would potentially remove any blockers if they have. Okay, thank you very much for that. I've got another one here which says, so I believe you did mention, Lisa, about the dashboards. I think this is more about just a little bit more on the reporting features and how much of that is inbuilt and configurable versus how much needs to be actually developed.
Yeah, so both solutions come with out-of-the-box reporting tool. So it comes with some of the most standard reports. In addition, the reports can be easily customized to meet specific business needs. There's no in-depth coding or change orders that need to be done to make these kind of requests and changes in the system. There's a simple interface where anyone within the business can be easily trained to create custom reports on their own. And they can see on the user dashboard what reports are most relevant for their role. So there's a lot of flexibility on what can be done with reports and how they can be viewed.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. I'll have a final question here. Okay, there's another one. So let's go through that first. So how does commission work if brokers charge customers a consulting fee directly? That's factory gate products to them. So is that for you, Lisa?
Sorry, can you say that question
again? Does that make
again?
sense? Yeah. So the question is, how does commissions work if brokers charge customer consulting fee directly? So explains it by saying factory gate products to them.
Yeah, so within our commissions solution, there are different calculations that can be embedded. So based on the specific roles that you have. So if you do use a system and you create a broker role and there are consulting fees associated with that, within the system, you are able to make those specific payment calculations based on whatever percentage they charge. So there is a lot of flexibility in terms of how you can set up payments within the system and to all the different parties involved.
So one is a reselling of the services that they're working for as brokers, but they're also having their own consulting charges or additional fees independently, and I assume Producer Pro can cater to that. Correct, Lisa?
Yeah, commissions can cater to that. Exactly, the calculations going through that side.
Okay.
Yeah, I think exactly, and I think just to add to what Lisa said, that the commissions will be able to be flexible in terms of being clear about which products or services are related to commissions and remuneration for the broker, and anything that is off that tariff then would be between the broker and the customer. So you can have the flexibility to show exactly what portions of products and services are actually attracting commission and how much.
Okay. I've just got one more question on my list, so I'll encourage the attendees to put their questions in now. The last question I have at the moment is, how scalable are these solutions? So I'm assuming organizations which are multi kind of geographies and a lot of people, do we have some examples or some ideas of how scalable these solutions are?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, we can fit and support the needs of large enterprises as well as small to mid-sized businesses. We have customers who have millions of customers across multiple countries. Actually, AIG is an example of that. They have 88 million customers in, I think, 130 countries. So the solution does scale, but we also can support much smaller organizations. The solution, as mentioned, is just very flexible to meet the specific needs of a business. So there's a lot of functionality that comes out of the box, but also a lot of things that can be easily adapted to fit different organizations.
It's also worth saying that because the solution is a cloud-based solution, then from a subscription point of view, then it does work for both, as Lisa said, functionality-wise, but also subscription-wise and cost-wise, it works for any small, medium, or large organization.
Okay, excellent.
Yes.
Okay, any last questions from anyone? Okay, looks like that's it. So that's great, fantastic. Thank you very much, Lisa and Jane. This has been really helpful, and I hope the attendees found this very useful as well. And if anybody has any interest in looking at this in a bit more detail or your specific use case, please contact us. You've got the contact detail on the screen there, and we'd be more than happy to walk you through your specific use case in form of a demo, which we can do as a workshop with you. Okay. Once again, thank you everyone for joining this session today, and have a good day.